Okay, off the plan, you put down your hard-earned money deposit. You put it down 10% to purchase the property. Does the developer get their hands on that? Yes or no? Stay tuned.
Off the plan pros. You got two of them this morning. We're going to share some
You
hot
do,
sauce.
but Billy, there's something big that's happened this morning.
What happened?
Am I reading on the bottom of the screen correctly?
Getting their hands on your deposit when buying off the plan.
Episode 1500.
Yeah, it is. It's true.
We've done 1,500 of these episodes to educate the community on real estate.
Yeah, it's been over 4 years. 5 years. Crazy.
Imagine the information out there in the ether for people with these videos. Well done to you. Well done to everyone for watching, and thank you for your support.
I agree. Massively. 80,000 downloads on podcasts, hundreds of thousands of views.
110,000 now.
Oh, there you go. But we will crack on. We will crack on with the show. So this morning, developers getting their hands on your deposit. It's probably the number one question we get from buyers when they're sort of even considering the idea. It's like, where does my money go? And I think, unfortunately, the media hasn't helped developers and purchasers because it's put the scare into them.
Yep. Look, it's building a better community for buying off the plan, stronger, faster, safer. But it's put the bejeebies into purchasers, and developers will just shake their head thinking, I've always been building something quality. Nothing's changed. And why am I being giving a hard time? But I was with a few people on the weekend off the plan. One particular person was, oh my God, why didn't I know about this earlier? So everything that we spoke about, she's like, why didn't I know? I should have jumped in earlier. Why didn't I know? And it happened on project on DY that we're selling, project in French's Forest. I had the same comment from the same buyer, thinking, why didn't I jump on this earlier? But there's some common question that reserves people from actually jumping into off the plan, that once you actually answer the question, they're like, why didn't I ask this question earlier? Why didn't I get in earlier? Let's talk about the deposit. What happened? Like, first of all, can you explain what a deposit is and how it works with the purchase of a property before we tell people where it lives until settlement?
Yeah, well, don't confuse the reservation deposit and then your bigger deposit for an unconditional exchange, because there are two.
Yes.
And they differ greatly. So typically with a development, developers will go out and say to the agents, we're happy for you to take a reservation deposit because it will allow us to take an expression of interest, and it will also allow you to notify other agents, because often there's more than one selling agent, whether that be in our team, Novak, or multiple agencies, and then you're not getting clients competing for the same deposit. It's that same unit number or lot number. It allows sort of a bit of a priority order. So that will usually last up to about a week, because it'll allow the purchaser then to do their contract amendments, contract review with their solicitor, talk to their broker, but it does not take the property off the market. The second deposit, being the one that forms a part of your unconditional exchange, whether that be 5 or 10%, whatever's agreed, that's the larger deposit, and that gets paid into the nominated trust account.
That's sold.
That's sold. On exchange.
Purchased. On exchange. Because if I'm buying something that's ready in a year's time, and I'm putting down 10% of my hard-earned money, I'm going to benefit from the unit value going up I don't pay the higher price for the unit value. I've locked in my price. That's the benefit of putting down my deposit. And I don't have any interest repayments on the property. That's the benefit of putting down the deposit and buying it. But can the developer run off with my money?
Never, no. No, but the money sits in trust account, so the developer doesn't actually have access to the funds. Sometimes it's the agent's trust account, sometimes it's the solicitor's trust account, but the solicitor doesn't have access to those funds. Really, what it does for the developer holding a full 10% deposit is show the bank a pre-sale, and you tally up the pre-sales, and it reaches a point where they can then go and get their unconditional loan to fund the building finance and get the project out the ground, like this one here.
Well, because normally they need to see about 40% of the properties in the building sold, the banks, or 60% sold before they give the construction finance. But that myth of people thinking the developer's going to run off, you may be asked in some circumstances to release the deposit. Very rare. Don't agree. But I would say all of the off the plan, hundreds and maybe thousands of sales that we've done, we've never seen the deposit released to the developer. It always sits in the agent's trust account generally, or the solicitors. So there's a whole bunch of safety around that to know that you're going to be okay. So I guess from the top, if you do put a deposit on an off the plan property, check the contract. You can be assured that you're going to get, you're locking in your property. People get worried, is it going to be delivered? Now, if it doesn't get delivered, i.e. you don't get the keys to your unit that you're happy with, you get your deposit back, Billy?
Yeah, there's a sunset date clause, and that sunset date in the contract is the developer has up until that time to deliver the project with sort of notice along the way. And if it just never comes out of the ground, you get your deposit back
After a due date. So you don't lose your deposit.
Yeah, so once the contract's rescinded, and the sunset date works for both parties. It gives the developer a date up until to deliver the project. That's often after the estimated delivery anyway. So they might be saying, we'll deliver it in November, but the sunset date might be the year after, just so they've got that extra time. That's common. But the sunset date works in both ways, because if it reaches that period and the property's still not going ahead, as a buyer, you can rescind the contract. There's no penalty, and get your deposit back.
I have never sold or seen a property on the Northern Beaches that sold off the plan that has sold for less, where people have lost money on. That's how good off the plan has been on the Northern Beaches. I don't think everyone can tell that story, but I think the Northern Beaches can, because it's such a low supply suburb for new stock.
It's also a suburb where the average age demographic is getting older. The old stock will never be converted into the new stock. There's things that just are physically impossible to change. You cannot put a lift into a 3-story walk up. They did not make the space for it. They did not make the space for underground parking. They did not make the provisions for a security entrance in some cases. These are the things that some clients really want.
And they don't compete with each other because of that reason. I think the two-bedders stick in a different price range that were built 60, 70 years ago, and the two-bedders stick in a different price range that were built in the last 5, 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it's funny how they don't overlap. Just coming back to the deposit, the other thing I find not many people do or talk about is invest the deposit. They feel like their 10% just sits there idle. So what have you seen buyers do over the years there?
Say that again.
Buyers feel like their 10% deposit will just sit idle in a trust account. So can they invest it?
Yeah, so I think everyone realised it's a bit of a dumb thing to have no interest. So they share the interest generally. So the developer shares that interest with the purchaser that shares that interest because it's not deemed the developer's money. It's not deemed the purchaser's money when it's when it's sort of sitting in that in between stage between purchase, deposit
Mm.
down, exchange, sold, and settled. There's your keys. So that deposit goes towards the purchase of your property. People should know that. I know that's a very basic thing for you and I to think, but that 10% you put down will go towards the 100% of the property sale. So you only have to come up with 90%. But while
Yeah.
that money's sitting around for a year, it can sit in a low bearing trust interest safe bank trust account, and that can generate a little bit of interest that's shared between the purchaser and the seller.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty normal.
That's it. I think we've nailed the topic. I,
Nailed
I,
it.
I, I've purchased off the plan. You've purchased off the plan. You know, it's something that people do on the northern beaches. A lot of people get worried about the new builders coming through, cowboy builders. On the northern beaches, we are very lucky. The demographic developers are selling to, they don't often get away with shortcuts. And that's why you find your tier one builders are the ones that dominate this area. Meriton, Landmark, they're big household names.
Have a lovely
See you
day.
later.
See
Ciao,
ya.
ciao.
Bye.
Oh, we're
Yo,
back.
how are you?
We're back. We're still